Whenever there's a news story about a horrible instances with many deaths, such as a school shooting or a murderer on the loose, it is breaking news that everyone that has that country or even worldwide knows about it. A very similar news story is being played on TV in front of me right now. However, it is currently local. It's currently local because it just happened around 10 minutes ago in my neighborhood. Somebody whose name had not been yet specified has broken into 3 homes, killed everybody inside them. 11 people have died, and 2 pets. The first home was a family of 5. The parents, the 2 sons, and a daughter. All of them, even their family dog, was killed. The scariest part was the murderer never took anything from the house or any of the houses. The police have checked many times, and although they did not notice anything was stolen, they noticed that the bathtub of the house was filled with blood. As you probably guessed it, the same thing happened with the other 2 houses. One contained a newlywed couple and their cat, and the third one contained a single father and his 3 children. Normally when I see stories like this, it does not usually bother me. People die all the time. However, this story is definitely not bothered me. These 3 houses were only 3 blocks from me, and it was 1 a.m. and I was tired, but there was no way I could sleep after watching this. I waited 3 more hours watching the news, seeing if the killer would strike again, but obviously that did not come true. I decided to give up and just go to bed. It was very unlikely anyone would break into my house tonight, so I decided to go upstairs and get some rest. Thankfully, my prediction was correct, because nobody broke into my house last night. However, the news said the killer broke into 2 more houses, killing 5 more people, filling the 2 bathtubs with blood. The story was definitely worldwide at this point, and you could see the fear on the newscaster's face when they were talking about this story, as they were from the same neighborhood that this was taking place in. Like me, the chief of the police department was on the news, talking about how he and a group of other policemen have been searching for the killer non-stop without rest. People are moving out of their homes right now, going as far away from this neighborhood. I am seriously considering this as well. It's not safe here anymore. However, unlike the last 3 hours that were 3 blocks away from mine, these 2 houses were 5 blocks away, and this was farther away, but still, I spent the rest of my day paranoid, thinking someone was going to break into my house and kill me before going to bed. This was getting very serious. When I woke up the next morning, I checked the news. To my surprise. The news said killer was still at large. He broke into 16 houses. However, 12 of them were empty due to people moving out in fear. That didn't matter though. He broke into 4 more houses with people inside, killing 15 and 4 pets. However, the police saw him entering the last house and surrounded him. Even with the policemen and guns and guard dogs surrounding him, he somehow managed to escape. They did get a photograph of the killer, however, a blurry one, but it's still a photograph. Now my fear was at a peak. Death scares me. As I began to cry, it took me forever to save up for my house, so I definitely did not want to leave it. This all happened 14 blocks away from me, so I doubt anyone would be coming my way. However, to keep to myself safe, I bought a pistol and kept it underneath my pillow. Everybody dies, but the thought of death scares me, and I do not want to die much earlier than I have to. For the next 5 days, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. No stories about how the killer broke into more houses. No stories about them catching the killer. No stories about the killer committing death unalive. Absolutely nothing. Obviously, the police were still looking for the killer, but spent 5 whole days finding nothing. These stories about the killer were dying, so I guess that meant it was safe for me to go outside. I guess it was always safe to go outside, during the day at least, considering the killer only killed his victims at night. I decided to go take a walk around the park and enjoy some fresh air. The park was surprisingly empty. Well, I guess it's not that surprising if you think of it. Most of the people moved out of the neighborhood or were either afraid to come outside. The quietness of the park was actually very soothing, so I was sort of glad I decided to go to the park today. However, the quietness of the park was also terrifying, so I decided to head back home. However, I saw something that made me stop right in my tracks. It was him. The one day they showed me on the news, and he was staring right at me. I began to run. I've never ran so hard in my life. He was slightly faster than me, just slightly though, so there was still a chance that I could outrun him. I remember there was a forest right near the park, so if I get there without him catching me, I could be able to lose him. I ran as hard as I could, to the point where I felt like I was going to pass out, but after 3 minutes of running, I finally reached the forest. I was running side to side through the trees, trying to lose him. It was working, and I was getting a good distance away from him. However, my body was ready to collapse, and I was breathing very heavily. I didn't care much about this wait though, because even though I felt a lot of pain from running, that pain is so much better than what he was going to do to me. He was getting closer too, dangerously close actually, and the next thing I knew, I was tackled and handcuffed. It was the chief of the police. He brought me to his car and he didn't even tell me anything. I already knew what my punishment was. My punishment was death, and sadly, I already knew there was going to be no way around it.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.